Hi, welcome to another video presented to you by both Robert and myself, Patty Thompson. And the title of this video is Staying Safe While Working Online as a Freelancer. So let's dive right in. Oops. Okay, so why does this matter? Why is it important? Well, it's important to stay safe online, whether you're actually working online with other clients or whether you're just online for your personal use, whether it's entertainment, going on Facebook, watching YouTube, anything. You need to make sure you have safeguards in place because your personal data can be exposed. While you're working online, you want to make sure that you take safety into consideration because sadly, even on Upwork, but all online platforms, there's unscrupulous clients out there that could be asking you for money, and you need to know how to handle that. You could be asked to provide free work. And asking for free work is one of the big violations against Upwork's rules, but there's others, and you could be asked to violate their rules. And when you do, you lose your membership to the platform. And when Upwork kicks you off of the platform, you're gone for good. So you could be losing a big stream of income. And of course, when you're working with clients, they expect you to protect their data, and they may hold you responsible if you expose their information. So you want to take safety into consideration.
So, what are the common types of scams that we see? One of the big ones is phishing emails and fake job offers, especially if you have your Upwork profile set that it's visible to the whole world. People will go in and see somebody who's looking for a job, and then they'll send you a fake job offer. That's why we usually tell people to limit the visibility to clients that are on the platform. Um, Malware and viruses. And by the way, the phishing emails can be very sophisticated. Um, we had a relative who got caught because they got an email from their boss asking them to buy some cards, digital cards, and put
Alleged
money on.
boss. Alleged boss.
Alleged boss, yes. Well, as far as they were concerned, it was their boss. Well, later turned out it wasn't their boss at all. And the person who was getting them to do it was getting them to put it on cards and giving them the information so they could take the money. Um, and so you have to be really careful about any phishing emails. Malware and viruses, this is sort of old school, but if you don't have any virus protection on your computer, you can easily be infected in a matter of minutes. They've done experiments where they put a computer on the network and it gets exposed almost immediately. So some type of malware protection helps prevent that. Identity theft and client data breaches. Um, we see this a lot nowadays. Companies will go out, they'll breach another company, or hackers will go out and breach a company and get enough information that they can steal your identity. So you have to watch all your accounts to make sure nobody's using them, hopefully, other than your spouse. Um, Data capture using public Wi-Fi. A lot of times, if you're in a restaurant or a library, they offer free Wi-Fi. That's great. But if you're unprotected, basically, if you don't have a VPN, you're going to be exposed in those areas. Anybody who's got a listener can sit there and listen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to advance the screen there. Now I will. So, on Upwork's platform, Upwork provides freelancers protection, but only if you follow their rules. One, you never want to communicate with a client outside of Upwork until you have a signed contract. So a client on Upwork could message you and say, "Hey, let's continue this through email or a call or a text message." You don't start any outside communications until you have a signed contract on Upwork. And when you're uh, doing work, you want to make sure you submit that work on Upwork. Never accept any payments outside of Upwork. I had a client once that texted me. Oh, actually, I had this happen to myself as well, where the freelancer wanted to get paid. When I had hired a freelancer and they wanted to get paid outside of Upwork. So in that case, I was the client and the freelancer is asking me this. But I also had a client who was a freelancer saying the client suggested getting paid outside of Upwork so that they didn't get charged any fees. Well, bad idea on both accounts because number one, that goes against their terms of service. And you know what happens if you go against their terms of service and they find out, they kick you right off. But you're taking the chance of working with somebody that you have no idea who they are, and they're telling you, "I'll pay you directly myself," saving you, giving you an extra 10% of money, which Upwork takes to guarantee that you'll get paid because they need to pay Upwork before they even hire the freelancer. So you take the chance of doing free work for that person. So you never want to accept payment outside of Upwork. Never, ever give clients banking information directly. Again, it's against Upwork's terms of service. You give Upwork your information so that you get paid if you choose to have direct deposit into your account. But you don't ever give a client, because once they have the information, they have free reign over your account. And as Robert mentioned in the last slide, when you're first starting out on Upwork, you want to make sure that your profile is set to available to Upwork users only, because you don't want those unscrupulous clients that are roaming out there on the internet having access to your profile and contacting you through email saying, "Oh, I got a job for you and I'll pay you X amount of dollars." So you want to make sure in the beginning, until you're established and you know the ins and outs, you're only available to Upwork users.
One of the big things is using strong and unique passwords. I mean, I used to have a little pattern that I would use, which, would always look like a strong password. But once it was broken on one account, the hacker would try it on other accounts. So you always want to have strong passwords. You want to make them unique for each account so that they're not different. And a lot of people use a password manager like LastPass or KeePass, and that will help you create complex passwords. And then you just have to go into the KeePass or the LastPass, whatever tool you're using, to get it and look it up. There's something new called passkeys that are being pushed heavily by Google and some of the other accounts. They are basically a combination of two-factor authentication and passwords, and they're tied to your computer. And basically, it puts a little encrypted file on your computer to say who you are. And that's considered a substitute for a strong password.
So Robert mentioned two-factor authentication, and this adds a second layer of protection. When this first started coming out, I thought, "Oh, this is a real pain in the butt because you have to go through this again." But now I realize that, yeah, it might be a pain in the butt, but it's for your protection. And a lot of apps, or you can use some apps like Google Authenticator or Authy, to help with this two-factor identification. And you should have it set up for email, your freelance platforms, and especially your financial accounts.
You always want to keep your software updated. I mentioned that there are a lot of people constantly trying to hack into systems. And as soon as a vendor finds that their software has an opening, then they put an update together to prevent other people from getting in. So if you never update your software, there are literally thousands of different exposures that are known to be in software. If you turn on the updates, then you're going to have the latest version of the software. It will build in the protections. You want to update your browsers, you'll get those little annoying messages that say, please restart the browser to update. You want to do that. You don't want to put it off for weeks on end. Um, and you don't want to ignore those security alerts if you get them. Now, sometimes security alerts themselves can be hacks trying to get information, so you want to look at them carefully, but don't ignore them.
Okay, make sure you have some antivirus and firewall protection. You want to install reliable software onto your computer. Um, a lot of times this is built into your laptop when you get it. So you can use your built-in system or you can get a third-party firewall. And you want to make sure you run regular scans. And I'm pretty sure Robert has all of our laptops set up that the scans run automatically at certain, or it's scheduled to run automatically whenever there's an update. Correct, Robert?
Yes, and we used to use a third party. We used to use Norton, but lately we have all Windows computers. Lately, they have been updating Windows Defender, which is the built-in firewall. So now that's something that's pretty good. And if you're using a current version of your operating system, it's probably got some pretty good built-in software. Just don't disable it. Okay, I mentioned public Wi-Fi. You want to be careful with this. Um, Avoid logging into sensitive accounts on public Wi-Fi, especially on computers like at a hotel where you can use their computer to log in. You want to be real careful about putting any of your banking information or anything else because they may have a listener installed. But even if you're just using your computer, somebody can be listening on that public Wi-Fi. And general Wi-Fi is not encrypted. So you want to use a VPN that will encrypt all the traffic going over. So a tool like Proton VPN, or we use NordVPN, those are tools that allow you to encrypt all your information going in and out. It's also great if you're traveling because you can set up a home location and always work out of that location by signing into that site, so that you don't get into any issues with, oh, you're in Timbuktu this week. What are you still a U.S. Worker? So you want to be careful with that. Um, Hotspot from your phone is actually a safer alternative, especially with 5G now. It's just as fast as the Wi-Fi that most restaurants and all use. So you can easily use that, but make sure you use a secure password. Some people just put, password or something really simple, and if somebody can see your phone, they're going to be able to pick up your network and try to sign in.
I wanted to add on the first talking point there, avoid logging in on public Wi-Fi. Many, many years ago, we're talking like over 15 years ago, Robert and I went on a trip and we were in a hotel and I used the hotel computers to check my email. I thought it was safe to go check my email. And lo and behold, when we returned home, my email was hacked into and I had to change my password on it. So it's not only logging into sensitive accounts. I didn't consider my email a sensitive account, but it got hacked in using what I figured out was that it was because I logged in at that hotel. So you want to be very careful about using public Wi-Fi, especially if you work in like Starbucks or something, or you lose power and you go to a restaurant that has power to do your work. You want to make sure you're careful. So, spotting scams and phishing things. Well, number one thing, don't click on links from unknown sources. And I want to go a step further and say, don't click on links sometimes from known sources as well, especially when you're on sites like Facebook and people share all kind of links on there, or instant messenger, where your instant messenger account can get cloned and you think it's coming from a person you know and you click on it, but it's not. So you want to be careful on clicking links. People are so quick to click on them. Watch for anything that says urgent or has odd communication. This just happened to me the other night where I received a WhatsApp from a friend in my WhatsApp contact list, and she lives in Mexico, and she's American. She's from the United States, and she was speaking broken English, which at first it didn't even occur to me until after I read the message from Robert saying it's kind of odd that I heard from this person because I haven't messaged her on WhatsApp in for like over 6 years. We talk on Facebook occasionally, but we haven't communicated on WhatsApp. And here I am getting a message from her. And Robert's like, you better be careful with that because that's not how she would talk. And I was like, you're right. So I ended up blocking it on WhatsApp. But you want to be careful of that. And one of the ways when you're getting these links to see if they're real or not is to just take your mouse, your cursor, and hover over it. Because when you hover over the link, if it doesn't match the company that it says it's coming from, or the email address that it's coming from or something, then you know it's a fake thing. And Robert included a thing here. Um, how do I bring that up, Robert?
Um, try right click, try click, well, try clicking on it.
Left click or right click?
Left click.
It won't let me.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes.
You may have to right click on it.
All right. Um, now I'm not sure how to go back. Let's try Xing out of that. Oop, are you there?
Yeah.
I lost the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh,
Okay, let me try bringing it up again. That was very strange. Okay, share. Okay, right click on it.
try right clicking. I'm trying to bring it up on mine to see if I can
Yeah, it's
figure
not
out.
doing anything for me.
Okay, let me look at
We wanted to show you an example, and we were using our company.
which slide number is this 10?
Well, at any rate, when you, oh, okay, now it's working.
Okay, yeah.
I'm hovering over the website that the link is to is www.wellknowncompany.com. But when I hover over it, it actually says our website, which is www.rptvirtualservices.com. So they don't match. So when those links do not match, I mean, if this was a legitimate link here, it would say it down in the spot where it's hovering there. And when they don't match, don't click on it. Something is not right. I received emails that saying there's a problem with your Amazon account. You need to click on this link to set up payment for your delivery or whatever. And when you hover over the link, it has nothing to do with Amazon. It's taking you to the scammer who's trying to get your bank information. So you want to be careful of those things. Okay. Up, did I? Yeah, I went forward.
Yeah. You want to secure your free email and freelance accounts. Um, Strong passwords we talked about, and two-factor authentication. You want to use both. And you also want to check your login activity regularly. On the accounts that are important to you, you should be looking, they generally have a log that tells you how often you've logged in, and make sure there aren't logins that you don't recognize. And never share your login credentials. Um, you want to make sure that your accounts don't get used by somebody else.
Back up your work. Backup is extremely important. Um, your laptop can die and you may have to get a new laptop. Talking from experience, this happened to me. If you don't regularly back up your work, you lose it when you get your new laptop. Okay, that's just one good reason of backing up. But if you get hacked and your computer gets taken over and you have to clear out your computer and reinstall everything, you've lost your information. There are services, cloud services like Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud. We use Dropbox that backs up your work, and we back up our work every single evening. You want to have it set regularly. Now, there's sometimes when my computer doesn't have any changes, so it will say 0 files backed up because nothing changed. But sometimes I go in and especially Robert goes in and works on several different things. You don't want to lose your work. Set up automatic backups if possible, and also consider an external hard drive.
You especially want to protect client data. A lot of times, clients will ask you to sign an NDA. And if you look carefully at the NDA, one of the things it says is you're responsible for protecting their data. So don't save client files on public or shared computers, so only on your private. You may want to password protect or encrypt client data. You can always right click and encrypt a folder. Just make sure you save off the password so that you can get back in. And be cautious when sharing via email. It's easy for email to get hacked. A lot of times, especially if it's a big file, we may use a service like Google Drive, or Dropbox to share the information. And all those services have the ability where you can create a folder and then share it with a specific email address. And then the person has to sign in to be able to view it. So you always want to be extra careful when you're dealing with clients' data.
You want to make sure that you create a safe work environment. If you're working at home and you're alone, it's no problem. But if you're working in a public area, you want to make sure that your screen locks when you step away. Keep your work devices separate from family uses if possible. If you live in a home with teenagers and you are doing work on a computer, but you have a team that also uses it for different things. You want to try to keep your work, especially when you're working with clients that have that make you sign an NDA or anything like that, and you need to protect their work. You want to make sure that you have a separate work device. And this I've seen many a times where people will put little sticky notes on their computer with their passwords to different things, or they keep a notebook next to their computer with their passwords. It might be for you, but somebody else can have access to it, and then there goes your client work. So don't leave your passwords written out next to your computer. Use a password uh, app that saves them for you.
Okay. Obviously use reputable freelance platforms. If you stick with the major players, you're going to be safe. Um, as long as you avoid clients who try to take conversations off platform too quickly. There are ways to do that to start working for a client full time, but you need to follow the process. There are some smaller platforms that are good. You just have to research them and make sure they're good before you start using them. And most of those are focused on niches where you have a particular skill that's a little unusual. And watch out for payments, scams, or check scams.
Set boundaries. Okay. Don't overshare your personal information with your clients ever. They don't need to know your address. They don't need to know your full birthday. There are some clients that want to know your birthday so they can send you a birthday card or something like that, especially if you're working with them full time on a long-term basis. But they don't need to know the year you were born. You can tell them, your date, but not the year. You want to make sure you use a business email. We have personal emails and we have coaching emails. That way, it keeps all your personal email separate from your business email. And consider a Google Voice number instead of giving out your personal cell. With Upwork, though, you can do all of your communication on the platform, and it's best to do that because they will have an electronic trail if there's ever any doubt with the client that your work was delivered as promised.
You want to keep your personal and work accounts separate. Um, as Patty just said, it's easy to create a dedicated email for freelance work. If you use a platform like Google, you can create a new account in a matter of minutes. Um, Consider using a separate browser profile so that all your accounts come up when you sign into that profile. Um, and you want to avoid mixing personal browsing with work. It just um, especially if you have a client that wants to install any tracking serve things on your computer, or if you're using Upwork's time tracking software, which periodically takes pictures of the work that you're doing while or whatever activity you're doing while you're signed in. So you want to be careful about that.
Yeah, you don't want them taking a picture of you checking out Facebook. Okay, safe payment practices. You want to make sure you use trusted systems. PayPal, Wise, Pioneer. There's several out there. We use PayPal. Don't share banking info unless you're absolutely sure it's a trusted platform. Upwork is a trusted platform. Watch out for fake payment confirmations. Um, like we mentioned before, there are unscrupulous people out there. You want to make sure you're confident in all your transactions.
Okay, so what do you do if you're compromised? Well, I guess, first, how do you know that you're compromised? A lot of times it's you get a message from a friend saying, "Did you send this email to me? It doesn't look like you." And that's a good way to know that you've been hacked. Well, the first thing you want to do is immediately change the passwords on the accounts that were hacked. And if you, by chance, have used the same password on multiple accounts, change it on all the accounts, but don't change it to the same one. Use different passwords for each one so you're not as vulnerable in the future. You want to notify any affected clients immediately that you've been hacked, so they're not trying to figure out what's going on, or worse, getting scammed because they responded to an email they thought was you. Run a virus or malware scan on your computer. You also want to report suspicious activity to the relevant platforms. A lot of times the platform will let you know that something suspicious has happened, and they'll say, "Was this from you, or was this a hack or a spam?" And so you can report it. Just make sure you're reporting it to the right platform and not a hacker.
Robert said, how do you know that you've been compromised? Well, my Facebook account was compromised, and this was when he was sailing our boat down to Panama from Florida. And the only way I knew that I was compromised was Robert's daughter, who I'm very close with, and some of her friends. Well, his daughter contacted me saying one of her friends that I was friends with on Facebook got a Facebook message from me asking her for money. She's like, I think your stepmom was hacked because I don't think she would ever ask me for money. And I was like, yes, I would never ask her for money. I'd never ask anybody for money on Facebook Messenger or anywhere. And so I immediately went in and checked my Facebook log activity. And all of a sudden, I see my account was logged in places that I never even heard of. And so I had to go in and I had to change my password. I locked down my Facebook. I warned people that I was hacked and that if they're getting instant messages from me, do not respond to it and do not send money. So, yeah, it happens even to people that think that they're being safe. I just had minor things set up on my Facebook account. After that, I locked down my Facebook a lot. Only friends can see things that I post on Facebook or anything. And whoever this was knew that Robert was traveling by sailboat and also knew that they were having difficulty. So I guess they figured it wouldn't be too far-fetched for me to ask people for money. However, obviously they didn't know me because I would never do that. So just be aware and know to act immediately if you are compromised. So stay informed. Hacking is so sophisticated right now. And I mean, literally, there are thousands of places that are hacked on a daily basis, if not hundreds of thousands. So there are blogs and newsletters that you can follow. One is called Krebs on Security. You can join Facebook groups. Upwork has forums that they have that you can check on safety and everything. But the important thing is to keep learning. Cyber threats are constantly evolving.
Yeah. And our monthly newsletter often has information when we hear of a particular problem.
Yes, but our newsletter only comes out on a once a month basis. So you want to read our newsletter, but you also want to keep up on Upwork. If you're working on that platform or whatever platform, they might have security updates on a regular basis, and be aware.
Okay, so quick safety checklist. use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication, have antivirus installed on your computers or any devices you use, including your phone and your if you have an iPad or something like that. You want to do regular backups and you want to be scam aware.
So if you have any questions or anything about this, you can contact us, and we've included our contact information. I have to say that Robert is more of an expert on this than I am. So if you have anything technical, it's best to contact him. But we wanted to list our contact information so that you have it. And next steps are up to you. Think about what you are going to do to keep yourself safe all the time, not only while you're working online. And we hope you join us for our next video. Take care. Bye.